Hello, and welcome to the show Goldsquadrongays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars-loving gays break down each episode of their favorite Star Wars TV shows, while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
And I'm Charles Rogers, and we are drinking mango. I just said Mando Dragon
Mango Dragon Fruit.
Oh my god, So I just grabbed this on like a lark. I was looking at it, I was like, do I really want the pink drink? No. Do I really want I didn't really like the pineapple refresher. I was like, I'll get this mango dragon fruit one. And I didn't realize mango dragon fruit. Mando.
Mango DeLorean.
It's a thematically appropriate drink.
It's the Mango DeLorean drink.
It's mango dragon. I'm going to start calling the show the Mango Dragon Fruit now.
There you go. Well, today's a little different because we don't have an episode to talk about today.
Yes, thank God. We're done. This marks the official ending of our episode by episode recap for season 1 for The Mandalorian.
Woo!
So we're gonna look back on it today and do a full season retrospective, and then we're gonna move on to something else.
Are you shocked that we actually finished something? Like, even if we never made another episode after today, we actually finished something.
That is pretty impressive. That is pretty cool, and genuinely it is awesome to look back at it and be like, we made it through of these episodes, and it gives me the more confidence that, we'll be able to, cover more seasons and do more stuff.
Right. I mean, like, I never finish anything, so this is a pretty great, just a little check mark off my bucket list of, being able to say I actually did follow through with something.
I completed a story arc.
Right.
And it was cool. Shout out to Clayton and Kyle and Aaron for coming on the show. It was awesome to have guests, so it wasn't just the two of us.
Right.
Talking the entire time.
Nobody wants to listen to just us, obviously.
No, God, no. No one wants to listen to our annoying gay voices.
Until we inevitably can't use anybody for the next season of show we do.
Yes. Because it's
going to be too complicated.
Yeah, we'll see where that's going to go. You and I know have been having some discussions about it. I know tentatively we're not planning to have any guests for Bad Batch.
Right.
Just because it does have to have such a high turnaround time. But I am excited for the challenge as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day and how, what we're going to have to do. I mean, it's literally it's going to premiere on Thursday. We're going to listen to it on Saturday. I'm going to have to edit it on Sunday. It's going to be going live on Monday. It's and then not even a couple days later is another episode. So it's really, really cool.
It's almost like we're real producers.
I know. It's so strange.
Thing that you have to keep up on. No, it's been a fun experience. I have made less long Facebook posts because I can just say things on this show now.
See, you can do your rants about, stormtroopers being able to shoot stuff on this podcast instead of, making a whole entire Facebook post about it.
Exactly. Now when I have a thought like that, I just jot it down in my notes. I have the notes app on my phone. I take notes of anything that I think of throughout the week. I was like, I better be sure to bring this up.
Yep.
I gotta make sure that gets in the show.
Save it for the podcast.
Save it for the podcast.
That's our new thing. Now, whenever because normally we used to do this where we would just, if I would think of something, I would go, I'm just going to send it to Charles on Instagram. And then now I'm like, no, save it for the podcast. We can
save it for the show.
Save it for the show. We'll talk about it in the beginning, especially with that Obi-Wan Kenobi casting. I was like, nope, save it for the show.
Save it. Speaking of Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's a photo of him that's come out, and he's got the Star Wars mullet again, from Attack of the Clones. Have you ever heard of the Star Wars mullet?
I thought, I didn't know it was referred to as the Star Wars mullet, but I'm assuming we're talking about Hayden Christensen's hair or something.
Mop so he had it in Revenge of the Sith, and Obi-Wan had it in Attack of the Clones, and
gotcha.
Qui-Gon to an extent had it in, although his hair was longer.
That's true. He was more hippie than he was mullet.
He really was. He was a space hippie. That was his whole thing.
That was his whole thing, because he was hey guys, the Force is not just the Force. It's little fucking bugs that crawl in your ear and it controls everything. Yeah, man, that's the Force. That was Qui-Gon.
Somewhere out there, as you described the midichlorians that way, like I just felt 1,000 prequel lovers like clutching their hearts
Cry
in
out.
pain at the description of midichlorians as tiny little bugs that control you from inside your ear.
I love it.
That's like
I
the
actually,
conspiracy theory version of the midichlorians.
well, I actually, what's so funny is people are so easy to dismiss the that stuff from the prequels. And I'm like, guys, don't take it so literally. Think of it as, yes, Qui-Gon was like just like a weird subsect of the religion who was like, no, it's probably more like this because this is a scientific explanation for how the Force works instead of just, no, the Force is just the Force. Like,
My impression of the midichlorians, and I could be misreading it, but my impression was always not that midichlorians cause the Force, but that midichlorians are indicative of the presence of the Force strong in someone. So it's not that they cause it, it's that they can be used as, they're like a symbiote that can be used as like a gauge to gauge how much force somebody might have. And I thought it spoke to the Jedi in this particular era
mhm,
losing their way and being more scientific and less spiritual
right.
than earlier iterations of them, which we're now seeing with the High Republic. Earlier iterations of them are more in connection with this force as a spiritual entity. So I never hated it as much,
Right.
but it is really dumb though.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think it's dumb, but I think now
But
that
like,
we
welcome
have
to Star Wars. It's
right,
all
exactly.
dumb.
I think people don't understand how like dumb Star Wars is to begin with. So I think if you're complaining about little bugs that control like psychic powers, I think you have your priorities in the wrong place.
Little bugs that control psychic powers. Hang on, I'm gonna write this down.
Write this
This
down.
might be this might be a pitch for something at some point.
Well, I don't want to talk about the midichlorians too long because we'll start losing people. So let's go to the Mandalorian.
Yes, let's get to a show that does not mention midichlorians at all in
Right.
it. It only mentions a bunch of other stuff.
Right. It actually does mention a couple prequel things, which it
Yes.
does have, so that is kind of interesting that we kind of go from the prequel. Here, let's jump off the prequel boat to back to our conversation of the separatists, in all the flashbacks Mando has. How do you feel about how they did the flashbacks throughout the season for Mando to explain his like kind of origins?
As a writer, I don't like flashbacks.
Mhm.
I will only use them if there's no other choice. And here I felt that there really was no better way to show rather than tell.
Right.
His perception of the droids is terrifying because the point of those flashbacks wasn't really to say, here's where he came from. It's why does he see the droids this way?
Right.
And later
then,
on at the end, we see why does he see the Mandalorians this way?
Right. And they only used it twice, so it wasn't like
3 times. 3
was
times
it
I
three
think
times?
they used it.
Okay. Well, they didn't
1,
overuse it.
3, and 8. Yeah, it's barely in there.
Right. It's only a little bit. I compare it to say like shows like Lost, where that was their whole formula for the show was to do half flashbacks, half present time, to kind of move the plot forward.
Or you have How to Get Away with Murder, where half the show is flash forwards.
Yeah, I don't like shows that do that because then you're just really just messing with people's heads.
How to Get Away with Murder is so good.
How to Get Away with Separatist Army attacking a village and the Mandos
Just
saving them for no reason.
throwing that out there for like out into the ether. It's a good show. You should watch it. But yeah, playing around with time like that, they made use of it. They made good use of it in the show.
And not to jump ahead, but we don't get flashbacks in season 2, which is
We do.
Oh,
We
we do?
do actually. We get one in episode 1 of season 2 when a character is telling the story of how he acquired a certain item.
Okay. Well, then we'll talk about it during that. But I was just
Oh, we
curious.
will talk about that scene. Believe
Right.
me, I have some thoughts
But I
about
was just thinking that, like,
that.
we don't get Mandalorian flashbacks, though, right?
Correct, correct.
We don't
So the
get young
only
Mando,
no,
which is
no, that was
interesting.
only for this season.
They kind of just abandoned that whole
Well,
thing.
they said what they needed to say.
Well, yeah, I thought we would get more like young adult Mando. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of already been inundated into the cult, so he's wearing the helmet, but he's a young adult. He's a teenager. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see like maybe a few flashbacks explaining a little bit more. Just cuz like with the prisoner episode that we got in episode 6 where they kind of talk about the fact that Mando used to run these jobs, you know, with this crew or some of the people in the crew at least. And I always imagined him being like this, you know, like hot-headed teenager, but he also happened to be a Mandalorian, and so they thought he was cool. And then he was really just, you know, this kid who was just wearing a Mandalorian helmet who was just breaking the rules. Like, I don't know. I thought it would be fun to see
Maybe
stuff like that.
like maybe we'll see that like to agree in like another project or
Hmm.
God, I know you would hate this, but maybe they'll do like a prequel novel or a comic or something. It seems like it'd be a good fit for comic serialized
Yeah.
storytelling.
As much as I don't like having to seek outside information to get the story, I agree that yes, it could be a good comic series at least, having young Mando like comics or something, you know. I don't know what you
I'm
would call
sorry
it,
you
but
have to read.
right, I know. Well, at
I'm
least with
sorry.
comics there's pictures, so you know, I can kind
That's
of get
true.
around that.
That's true.
But I do like I do like the use of flashbacks, but I like how they kind of limited it to just being for the important 3 episodes that we needed it for. And plus, I love an excuse to see anything prequel in live
Yes.
action again because seeing those battle droids was so cool, and I love seeing that. I don't know. I love prequel stuff. I wish they would do more. I hope they do more. Maybe in season 2 we'll see some stuff. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, and I found when it comes to like kids growing up on Star Wars that they always really love whichever era they grew up with that was coming out at the time.
Yeah.
So give it like another 10 years, and we're going to be getting think pieces on how the sequel trilogy was amazing, actually. And every negative thing said about it was wrong because the critics didn't understand it. The way we get these think pieces now about the prequels, because people like me who were in their late preteens, early teens when they were coming out, now have grown up to write for like the geek sites and all that. But not me because they won't hire me to do it.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like people who hate like The Last Jedi or whatever are going to be the same. You know, it's going to be called like you know how they have the prequel apologist now. It's going to be like the Disney
Sequel
era, the
apologist.
sequel apologist. Yeah, it's so funny how all these kids are going to grow up in a couple years and be like, we need more Rey in our Star Wars content. We need more Finn. We need more Poe. Like,
That's probably why they backed off a little bit because they're playing the long game here.
I
They know
honestly think they are.
that all the kids are gonna. That's why you're like,
Hmm.
we're not gonna do anything with Ray.
Yep.
We're not gonna do anything with the others. We're not gonna do anything post Rise of Skywalker. You just know it's because they're giving those kids a chance to like grow up a little bit and
Absolutely.
become adults with disposable income.
You know, now that I think about that, the next like trilogy won't happen for another 10 years and it'll be adult Ray and baby Yoda and that'll be
God, please,
the next series and it'll be
please,
baby
I would watch.
Grogu, Master Grogu.
I'm sorry, I don't know what name you're referring to.
Oh, that's
I've
right.
never
Sorry.
heard that word before.
Master the Child. Because you're right, we don't know his name yet. Sorry. Yeah, no, I actually I am curious, like, okay, assuming we've never seen season 2, what did you think after everything we saw in the season 1? What did you think? Where do you think the story is going to go now? What clues do you think that they gave us? Where do you think the story's going?
So what really surprised me, I'm going to describe what I thought was going to happen.
Right.
I thought the rest of the show was going to be about Mando and the child traveling around the galaxy trying to find the Jedi. And
Right.
that was going to be the whole rest of the show. That they were
Exactly.
just going to go from season to season. They were going to go from part of the galaxy to part of the galaxy and try to track down the Jedi. And that was going to be just the rest of the show. And without going into too many spoilers, a lot of the things I thought, and one big thing in particular, I thought they were going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought was going to be like the series finale, was the season 2 finale. Like, that was my initial thought watching the end of season 1. Where did you think it was going to go?
So based on just like the last episode, really, I mean, the armorer said, "Hey, you have to find the Jedi, and if you can't find the Jedi, then you have to raise him as a foundling." So in my head, I was thinking, okay, the whole next season is them gonna, trying to find the Jedi, but they can't by the end of the season, and he realizes, oh, I'm his family now. Like the whole second, so the first season was supposed to be Mando discovering the fact that he was, not as hardcore as he thought he was. Like, he's actually a caring person. And then the second season is Mando realizing that he doesn't need to find Grogu's family the child's family, because he is the child's family, right? That was his realization by the end of the second season, was that we don't need to find the Jedi because you are my family. That's what I thought they were going to do. So the whole season, they were going to be looking for the Jedi. They maybe find like old temples or something, and maybe we could get like fun little like Easter eggs, but other than that, he was never going to find the Jedi. There was no Jedi, you know what I mean? Like they was never going to find him, and then he was going to realize, oh, I have my family, I don't need to bring the baby anywhere.
And the second season very much did not do that.
And not at all, they completely did not do that
Not in the
at all.
slightest.
Not that we
Yeah.
know anything about what happened in the second season.
No.
But yeah, no, I definitely did not think that that's how they were going to go with the second season. I thought they were just going to make it really simple, and then it was just going to be kind of more like one-off adventures throughout the second season, and that was pretty much all it was going to be. Go to like just serial, because I didn't really think they were going to go with this overarching approach, which I guess they did. I don't know.
Like, I didn't anticipate that this was going to be like the next big era project. Like, when
Right.
they announced all the different shows, I went, oh, that's what this was building up to. But
Right.
I didn't anticipate that they were going to be like, okay, we're going to do 4 different shows and they're going to culminate together in, like, I don't know, the Avengers or something.
Yeah, I was getting a sense that like each of these shows was supposed to be like a limited run, right? So like with The Mandalorian, it was only supposed to really be the first season and maybe a second season, but I thought maybe they were just going to do a limited series on all of them, just to kind of be like, look, we're just trying to tell these one little simple one-off stories. They're fun, and they do this
I think
thing. And
isn't Ahsoka a limited series?
I think moving forward, all of them are limited at this point. I don't know if they have decided if some of the other ones are long term. But then again, I don't know if they thought Mando was going to be long term in the beginning. I think they thought, no, this is only going to be a one, like, kind of 2-season thing. And then now they're like, oh shit, this is our most popular franchise
This is
right
the
now.
thing.
Right. We got to keep going with it. So I hope they don't go too far with it. Because just like any other show, if you go past 5 seasons, you're risking quality content to go downhill quickly. So,
With the notable exception of the Clone Wars.
and notable exception of Supernatural season 18 or whatever the fuck they're on now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
There is no Supernatural after season 5, Bradley. We've been through this. It was a very nice show that ended when I was in high school.
Right. No, but my point is, I hope that Mandalorian does not go on past, hopefully, 3 seasons. I mean, I really don't want it to go too far.
They won't invest. Like, they won't invest the money in it if it's not... Like, with these big budget things, it feels like they do what they need to do to tell the story, and they don't really drag it out. Like, network shows that get dragged out basically because they're cheap to produce the episodes.
Right.
You can bang out the scripts. I'm not gonna drag Law and Order too much, except I am. This is why Law and Order is a thing, because
Right.
it can be hacked out by any idiot with a typewriter, and can shove a rejected cop pilot script
Right.
at them, and they could film it for pennies and at their local sets, and then just be done with it and put an episode on TV and make bank off the advertisement. With Star Wars and the Marvel stuff as well, it really feels like they're not going to overstay their welcome with some of these stories. Like Mando season 1 moved super fast.
Mhm.
Season 2 moved super fast.
Yeah,
They're
it did. But I think it's because it was also, it's only, 10 episodes a season, which is great because I don't think shows should really go past 8 or 10 because you really have to like consolidate your story. I mean, because if you're trying to tell your story over 20 episodes, you're fucking up. Like that's too many, you know?
Yeah, I remember people, WandaVision just finished airing a couple of weeks ago, and I remember people saying, "Oh, why didn't they do a whole season set in the I Love Lucy, or why didn't they do a whole season set in the
Right.
different sitcoms?" And I'm like, because it made its point and got out, and Star Wars has the storytelling is the same way
Right.
with the shows that they're doing. It makes its point, it gets out. At least the live action stuff.
Right. And I actually, so now how do you feel about this show being both a serial show and a just, standard
Episodic.
episodic? Would you prefer one over the other? Like if they would just stick to one?
I it's tricky because you do want to have the overarching story, but at the same time, it's kind of some of the fun of Star Wars is jetting around to these different planets
Right.
and having different adventures on them. So I kind of dug some of my favorite episodes were the episodes where they took a break from the main
Mm,
story. In
I agree.
season 2, I liked we'll get into this in season 2, but I liked the road trip
Yeah.
in
Well,
season
I
2.
was gonna say if you just stick to season one stuff, I mean, I love when they do just the one off. Like I said, the prisoner episode is one of my favorite episodes, and that's just a random, detour episode essentially. I mean, there's nothing that affects the plot really, like overall. It's just a stop on their way back home essentially, and that's one of the best episodes, and I love that. But I kind of wish that the show would do like maybe just stick to those and then maybe have the stuff going on in the background that we're not really seeing too closely.
Yeah, part of my because season 1 felt a little bit more episodic, where you had 1 and 3
Right.
and 7 and 8 that were more the plot heavy ones, and the rest of them
Are all kind
you
of
could
off.
show somebody that episode
Exactly. And you can be like,
independently
look,
of everything else and
right.
be like, this is what's in this show. Part of the issue I had with season 2,
Hmm.
and again we'll get into this, is that the first half of it is episodic, and they go through these adventures, and then they hit a moment where they do an episode where they meet a person, and after that point it just becomes a straight up serial.
Yeah.
That I felt was a little bit weaker because they had all their episodic stuff crammed into the beginning of the season, and then the back half of it was like basically
Yeah.
a 4 episode movie,
Yeah.
kind of.
I definitely think this first season was really strong. They do a good job of taking a break when they need to take a break from the story, not to fatigue its audience. We don't want to be super inundated with obviously, the same mundane, kind of thing every single episode. So I do like that they did do that. Especially like with the Jawa episode, like, it was just a fun little like again, I'm gonna just keep saying detour because of the Star Wars detour show that never happened. But like the detours, everybody wants to see the detours.
Yes, everyone does want to see the detours, Lucasfilm.
Right.
If you're listening, which I know you're not, but if you are, we all want to see detours. It doesn't even have to be good. We just want to see it.
Actually,
We want to see the baby.
what's so funny is now that we bring up detours real quick, I I think the show actually would not be good, but like in a fun way, not a like it would be terrible in a good way, if that makes
If I
sense.
didn't like watching fucking trash, I wouldn't be a Star Wars fan.
Right. I think it would be, I mean, exactly what, I mean, exactly, look who made it. It would be Robot Chicken, but just Star Wars, which is some of their best episodes are their Star Wars episodes.
Star Wars parodies are hilarious. Like I remember
Exactly.
stuff coming out during like the prequel era, like during Attack of the Clones, where it was like lampooning itself. It's so funny. It's
Yeah.
so good.
And I'm sad that like we aren't going to be able to get any kind of parodies of The Mandalorian because I mean, unless Family Guy randomly decides to start doing, Mandalorian jokes, but I
I mean,
don't
they
really.
might. Is Family Guy? Family Guy's still running, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that still? That is still going.
Yeah. That's still going. Simpsons is still going.
Ugh.
They're still going. Still going after being canceled like twice. They're still going.
The last time I ever watched Family Guy was whatever their Empire Strikes Back one was playing at a bar in downtown Atlanta in 2016, and I
Mm,
remember watching that
yeah.
and enjoying that, and that was the last time I watched Family Guy.
Yeah. I was gonna say I would love to see kind of them try to take on, because I mean think about it. It's already built in. You have Stewie be fucking the baby, the child. It works. It's already there. And then you have Brian be the Mandalorian. It's done. Like the whole
Or
thing.
or better, have the Simpsons do it instead,
How would that be better?
because then you could have Maggie be Baby Yoda.
I know, but wouldn't Stewie being Baby Yoda be funnier? Like, just because he's just so ridiculous. And he would talk and then nobody would hear him, except for Brian. And it would be like, I don't know.
I
I
don't know.
feel like
Is Family Guy funny?
I don't think it's actually funny. I just think that I like when they do their parodies because I think I do like the jokes because if you can get the jokes, like if I understand them, then I find it like clever funny, not like haha funny.
I mean, Disney owns it all now.
That's true. They do. So
Disney
there you
owns
go.
all of it. They can do whatever they want with it.
That's right. They can have their own little Star Wars TV show parody now.
They run a whole channel of just nothing but Star Wars parodies all
Exactly.
the time. I do have to ask you,
Yes.
and I'm gonna jump in and be the one to do this. I know it's normally you, but
Okay.
I'm gonna jump in and be the one to do. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What is overall of the entire season? What is one thing you liked and one thing you disliked about season one of The Mandalorian overall?
Oh gosh. This is hard because now I got to think about the whole thing as a whole. I think one of the best things that season one gave us, which hopefully, like we don't know, wink wink, will continue, is Space Amy Sedaris. I feel like she just brought so much joy to my face when I saw her on the show. I don't know. I hope she comes back. Wink.
She understands the assignment.
She understands the assignment and she's having fun. I love when somebody like guest stars on a show and you can tell that they're just having fun with what they're given. They're not taking it like so seriously. Like they're just going, "Oh, I'm just here having a good time." And that's what Amy Sedaris did with Star Wars. She was like, "I'm just going to do this ridiculous character and I'm just going to make it my own." And just the timing and everything she did was great. I love it.
Like Laura Dern making pew pew blaster noises
Right.
so much that it's actually in the movie.
Yes.
You can see her do it. What about one thing you disliked about the first season?
Honestly, my only dislike was we didn't get enough Gideon. I felt like he was kind of shoehorned in at the end, and I wanted more of him. And like I said last episode, I felt like maybe not in the same sense of like doing a Marvel end credit scene, but I felt like we should have gotten some more to keep it cohesive, to keep the season kind of like building up to something. We should have shown him at the end of every episode, kind of one step closer to finding the baby, one step closer, like with some more information about the Mandalorian that we didn't really know or that he knew, kind of thing. So I felt like we just needed more Gideon. That's never a bad thing, but more Gideon.
I definitely agree. I'm going to piggyback off that. I'm going to do my dislike and like in reverse order.
Do it.
I'm going to say the thing that I dislike, piggybacking off Not a Lot of Gideon, one thing I disliked was rewatching the first season as a whole. It didn't feel like there was a strong antagonist
Right.
to it.
I agree.
That it was kind of the Empire and kind of the Bounty Hunters Guild, and they didn't really, I feel like, hit the Bounty Hunters Guild enough.
Right.
Because they could have done exactly the same thing with the bounty hunters chasing them around the galaxy, but because the Bounty Hunters Guild itself wasn't established, and in fact was established as being kind of bad and full of idiots,
Yeah.
it never really felt like Mando was contending with anyone. Like he didn't have anyone to just like directly to threaten him.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is obviously on the fault of it being more, episodic, or not episodic, I'm sorry, more of a serial kind of situation where it's like every episode's a different, kind of situation, which is fine, but there, like you said, there is no like strong antagonist until the very end, and he's barely in it. So
even Gideon in season 2, they do basically, he shows up.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up a bunch. The Empire is clearly there and clearly the antagonists of the season. With season 1, it felt like it was more, it bounced back and forth between the Empire and the Bounty Hunters Guild, and neither of them felt strong enough to really feel like they were more than just a minor inconvenience all the way up until the end.
Right. What was the one thing you liked, though?
So the thing that I liked, and I really came to appreciate it on the second viewing, was there's two things that I loved in equal measure, and I want to mention both of them.
Okay.
The first is the love and care that was put into the production design.
Okay.
Watching it this time in such detail, I noted the times that the Baby Yoda puppet was super impressive. I noted the times that there were little things like the TIE Fighter cover, the TIE Fighter window frame that's in Kuil's workshop in episode 7. The little things that are in there to flesh out this world and make it more coherent. The other thing that I really liked on this rewatch is the developing relationship between Din and the child. How it grows between episodes 1 and 3 and then continues to grow after that as he has to kind of learn how to take responsibility for this child that he's become saddled with. Those are the two things. I like them in equal measure. I wanted to mention them both.
Well, that's so sweet that you cared about the puppeteering work. No, I'm just kidding. I actually agree that I think they did such a good job. You could tell a lot of care, and you can tell that the people who made this show, like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, love Star Wars, and they want to create it for the fans, but they're also creating it for themselves. You can just tell that like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau being little kids in the 70s, watching the Kenner commercials and then playing with the Kenner's toys and then coming up with these episode ideas as kids and then trying to make them.
Did I send you that thing on Instagram? It's like live footage of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni writing season 3 of The Mandalorian. It's like two kids playing with like a bunch of Star Wars action figures.
Yes, because that's exactly it does feel like that's what they did. It feels like they took that mindset of the kids from the 80s and the 70s, and kind of were like, this is how we used to play Star Wars, and now we're going to turn it into a TV show. Like,
it is, and it's the same kind of thing that I would have come up with as a kid, playing with my Star Wars action figures. It's the kind of story that I probably would have come up with something very similar to it.
Yeah, I compare it to like, obviously I was a prequel kid and I had a lot of the prequel toys, but I didn't have a lot of like, I didn't have complete sets of anything. So like I had a little bit here, a little bit there, and I would use things like Bionicles and Legos and Beanie Babies to flesh out the rest of the story, right? So like that for me was very similar into what they're doing. I feel like they kind of did the same thing. They were like, oh, well, I don't have, a Leia action figure, so I'm going to use this Barbie doll or something. You know what I mean? Like, so you kind of go from there and you kind of just make your own stories. And I feel like that's what they're doing. And I feel like if given the opportunity, I feel like you and I or any younger person would do exactly the same thing, is like pick their favorite era, you know, and or the era they grew up with, and then try to make something from that era, which is what they kind of did.
Definitely, and like it's very clear that at the end of the day, the writers are just having fun writing this thing, and
They are, yeah.
that comes across in what they do, and it comes across in the amount of care and love that they're putting into. I would love to just wake up in the morning and go to work and have that work be making Star Wars films. Yeah, so
I agree.
That to be able for them to go and to do that clearly is something that they're very, very invested in. Mm-hmm. I do have to ask.
Okay.
As far as another thing that I'm going to turn around on you. So you would ask me occasionally what you felt the episode titles meant in the context of the episode. I'm going to toss that back in your face.
Okay.
The title of the show is The Mandalorian. In the context of the first season, Bradley, what does it mean to be the Mandalorian?
The Mandalorian is referring to the... I'm just kidding. No. I don't know. I think it can kind of go both ways. I mean, I think what they were going with was to show us... I think in the beginning, it was a trick. I think it was to be like, the Mandalorian is about an actual Mandalorian guy, who does stuff, right? That was the whole premise of the show. But I think towards the end, we realized that the Mandalorian, it's not about where you're born, right? It's about kind of who you are as a person. So I think that he is the Mandalorian. The baby is the Mandalorian. We are the Mandalorian. Everybody's the Mandalorian. I also think that it changes for him too. I think he also in the beginning thought that to be a Mandalorian means can't take off my helmet, must win in combat, must, follow the ways of the creed, blah, 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 blah.
This is the way.
Right. This is the way was his only kind of way to be a Mandalorian. But I think towards the end, he realizes, no, to be a Mandalorian, you need friends that help you. You need, to care about things. You need to, all kinds of stuff. Like, and before he was a loner, and kind of towards the end, he was kind of like, oh, I can make my own creed. I can make my own kind of group. I think he's kind of starting to break down a little bit.
He's deprogramming to an extent.
Yes.
We will discover later on, minor spoilers, but we will discover that the Children of the Watch are a cult. And this is what happens sometimes when you're, deprogramming from being a member of a cult. It's a lot of questions about identity and a lot of questions about what it means to be who you are.
So you asked me that important question.
Yes.
But is there not a more philosophical question that we could answer about this show?
Let's see. I'm going to go with who we'd bang.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure that we were on the same
page. That's what everyone is here for, the content. They want to know.
They want to know who we want to fuck.
Exactly. So we're going to wrap up. Short episode today. We're going to wrap up our discussion of season 1 of The Mandalorian with the most ridiculous party game I could pitch at Bradley in the pre-meeting. We're going to play a little round of Fuck, Marry, Kill for The Mandalorian season 1. Oh,
yeah. Let's start with who we would want to kill from this season.
Who we would want to kill from?
Who would you want to kill out of all the? It doesn't have to be.
Stick with male characters.
Okay, since we like the male characters, we'll just say
that would be the only criteria for the fuck category.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to pick it. If I had to assign somebody to the kill slot,
yeah, who are you going to kill?
I am picking probably Mayfeld.
Ooh, that's a good one. I wasn't thinking. You know what's funny is
Mayfeld.
I was going to say Berg.
You're going to say Berg?
The Deveronian.
You were going to go with the Deveronian. You want to kill the Deveronian.
I want to kill the Deveronian because I don't care about him.
No, I would pick Mayfeld because...
I agree. He's not very, I don't like him.
I don't like him. No disrespect to the actor. He plays the role really well. But specifically in that episode of the first season...
Yeah,
I'm going with Mayfeld.
Okay, so Out of all the men this season, who would you want to marry?
Ooh, it's a tricky one.
I know this is hard because this is the person now. This is where people get messed up with this game because you have to think the difference between fuck and marry is
You don't have to fuck who you marry.
no. Well, yes, but the rules generally with fuck, marry, kill are with fuck you can only fuck them one time. You can
Ooh.
never have sex with them again. So that's the rule with fuck. So with marry, you theoretically could have sex with them as much as you want. So that's the difference between marry and fuck. So who would you want to marry?
So I'm going to toss a shocker out here
Okay.
that I feel like is going to change your life
Okay.
because I'm thinking about this strategically.
Okay.
I am going to pick Grief Karga.
Okay.
And the reason being is because, yeah, I mean, he's not the one that I look at and I was like, I want to get down repeatedly the most. But one, he clearly has money. Which is,
Okay.
we know as gay men, this is the most important thing.
Okay. You're looking at this more as a
And
sugar
two-
daddy situation. I see
And
what's happening.
two, he's probably the most. If I had to sit and listen to somebody talk for the
Yeah.
rest of my life, I would prefer they did it in Carl Weathers' voice.
I agree. Okay, so you're going more of a daddy route with your answer. Okay,
I am. What about you?
Gotcha. I went-
Who are you marrying?
totally shallow. I did not go in that direction at all. I'm going to marry Davin from the Prisoner episode, who was played by Matt Lanter.
Oh my goodness. He's in it for, first of all, he's in it for 5 minutes.
Right. So I'm gonna
I don't
marry
know
him.
anything about him.
Well, I'm gonna marry him because I'll tell you why.
Because Matt Lanter has crazy good abs.
Well, aside from the fact that he's gorgeous, let's just go from the character perspective, right? And assuming he doesn't die, even though he does, but assuming he didn't die, he has a job in the army, the government job, obviously. So he's getting paid well, and he's on that little prisoner ship all by himself. So that means I can kind of do whatever I want back on my home planet while he's off at sea, basically. So it's like we have an arrangement. So
you have an open marriage.
Exactly, we have an open marriage because I know he's going to be away a lot. So, but he's also super gorgeous. So when he comes home, I feel happy that he's back.
Yeah, you gotta love that government pension. You gotta love that government.
Of course. And then finally, who would you fuck? Now remember, the rule is you can only have sex with them one time for your whole entire life and never see them again.
This is a tricky one.
This is really hard.
And this may shock you, but it may not.
Okay.
The Twi'lek from episode 6.
Okay.
The brother whose name I don't remember.
The brother. I'll think of it in a second.
I do not recall because he just seems like crazy and insane, and I'm sort of into that.
I think his name is Quinn.
Quinn, yes. I'm going with Quinn because he's insane.
Mm-hmm. He's crazy. So he's probably crazy.
Kind of a sociopath. Right?
Yeah, he's probably crazy.
Or at the very least, I'm not going to be paying attention. Clearly he is in to go hard.
Okay. I'm actually not mad at that answer. I actually agree with you. I think that's just a good one-off. I just want to fuck this guy.
That's a good one-off. Take me home from the bar one time that neither of us is going to even really remember.
I thought
I'll get flashes. I'll get flashbacks of it for the rest of my life, and then occasionally I'll be like, "That was a good time. I should see if he's on Grindr," and then never bother to actually look him up.
So I thought about this, and I thought the obvious answer. I have an obvious answer, but then I have my real answer. Okay.
Okay.
So I didn't want to go with my obvious answer, which was Toro. Because whatever. That wouldn't even be a good fuck. That'd be a boring fuck, right? He's cute and all, but it would still be boring.
The cute ones like that are boring and bad.
Right. So here's my hilarious one, okay?
Okay.
And you're gonna think this is my real answer. And the reason why I think this person would be good is because they feel like they would be so opposite in bed that they are as a person. I'm gonna go with Dr. Pershing. Because no.
Really?
Okay, so he's like a nervous kind of like assistant, kind of type, like, he's working with the Empire, but he's always like afraid, right?
He is
Like,
also very pretty. Like, I
right.
will give him that. He is also very pretty.
But I feel like he's also really good in bed, like really freaky in bed too. Like he just like that's his place to like kind of let loose and de-stress. Like during the day, he's super stressed out, and then like when he gets home, he's like, I need to fucking like get off because I'm so fucking stressed.
I need that release. Come on.
Yeah, so he's my
He's
choice.
the kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that walks in the door and is like, "Take your pants off. Let's go."
Yep. So anyway, that was my choice for fuck, marry, kill. That was a fun little.
That was
who
a
we would think.
fun little way. Stupid but on brand for us.
Stupid and on brand. I love it.
Stupid and on brand for us. Yeah, it's a fun way to end the
Exactly.
season. Next week, there will not be an episode that is airing. We're trying to very rarely do this, generally after marathoning shows, but we will be taking a break. Next week, Bradley and I are still going to be working. We're working on some other stuff potentially to do outside of just the show. And then we will be back the week after with our episode 0 for Bad Batch. Bradley, you have not seen the trailers for Bad Batch more than once, I think, right?
I've only seen each one of the teaser trailer and then the full trailer one time. So I think what we'll do is for our episode 0, we'll just kind of talk about that and just see what happens, and see what we get, what kind of things they're hinting at for the season, what we hope that the season brings us. And yeah.
Then we'll launch into the Bad Batch, which we're going to cover as it airs. And after that, I know we're going to do the Vintage Collection at some point. I know we're going to do Mando Season 2 at some point, leading up to Book of Boba Fett in December.
Alrighty. Well, that's all I have. So please check us out on our social media pages. Instagram is the Goldsquadrongays.
It's just Goldsquadrongays.
I knew that. It was Goldsquadrongays.
He maintains our Instagram. He's the one that does that.
And then the Twitter is
at Goldsquadgays.
Goldsquadgays. Okay.
I just shared an article on there the other day that was posted by our lovely guest for episode 7 about the potential real life inspiration for Grief Karga. So if you head over to our Twitter, you can check that out.
Awesome. Well, everyone, until next time.
Bye. So you're supposed to like pick 3 and then assign 1.
You're the one who wanted to play this game. Yes, that's exactly what you do.